Millions of people take the IELTS exam every single year, and a huge number of them fail for the exact same reason. And it's not their English level, not really. It's what they believe about the test. So today, we're going to dismantle the myths that keep even really skilled speakers from getting the score they need. This quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the problem. And look, these aren't just little harmless mistakes. The exam doesn't forgive these beliefs. In fact, it's designed to quietly punish you for them in your final band score. So in this explainer, we're going to drag them out into the light one by one. All right, let's dive right in. We're going to systematically break down the most dangerous lies about this test. Our goal is to separate the fiction that keeps people stuck from the facts that will actually move the needle on your score. Let's start with the biggest one of all, myth number one. IELTS is an English test. I mean, that sounds completely logical, doesn't it? What else could it possibly be? And yet this is probably the single most dangerous belief a test taker can walk in with.
So here's why that's so dangerous. Most people think the test is measuring their casual, everyday English. You know, how well you can chat with friends or watch a movie. But the reality is, IELTS tests how you perform with English under very specific, very structured, and very high-pressure conditions. And those are two completely different skills.
Because just look at what IELTS is actually testing. It's not general fluency. It's things like structure, relevance, and did you fulfill the exact task you were given? It's about creating a logical flow in your answer and keeping your cool when that clock is ticking down. Think of it this way. Your English ability is the foundation, but your IELTS skill is the weapon.
Okay, now for myth number two. And this one quietly derails so many people's plans for immigration or for study abroad. It's the idea that general IELTS is easier than academic. Oh man, this is such a huge trap.
The whole problem is thinking about it as harder versus easier. That's just the wrong framework. The reality is they're just different. The academic test is mentally demanding. It will punish weak analysis. The general test is situationally demanding. It punishes you for careless reading. They test different skills, and if you choose the wrong one for your goals, you could basically fail before you even start.
All right, on to a major source of anxiety for so many people. Myth number three, accent matters a lot. This belief that you have to sound perfectly British or American is just completely false. The reality is much simpler. Your accent just needs to be clear and understandable. That's it. In fact, trying to fake an accent often makes people hesitate and sound unnatural, which actually hurts their fluency and, you guessed it, their score. A natural, clear accent is always going to win. This next one is a classic trap. And it's a belief that can easily drop a student from a solid band 7 down to a band 6. Myth number 4. Using big, fancy words increases your band score. The wrong way to go is trying to jam in some complicated word like a puzzle piece where it just doesn't fit. The reality is, IELTS rewards precision. It rewards hitting the target with simple, appropriate words. Seriously, using one complex word incorrectly is way more damaging than using a simple word perfectly. It's all about control, not showing off. All right, here's another one that hits both the writing and speaking sections pretty hard. Myth number 5. Long answers equal a high band score. Your goal isn't to create this giant, tangled mess of words. It's to deliver a clear, direct message. IELTS prefers answers that are clear and complete, not long and rambling.
In fact, adding more and more words often just gives you more opportunities to make mistakes and hurt your coherence. The goal is always relevance, not word count.
We're going to skip ahead in the list just a bit to focus on the really big ones. So let's tackle myth number 7. One section can save the whole score. This is that Hail Mary approach, right? Hoping a great score in one area is going to make up for a total disaster in another. As we're about to see, that is a complete fantasy.
Just take a look at this. You could get an incredible 8.0 in listening and an 8.0 in reading, but if you get just a 5.5 in writing, your overall average gets dragged way, way down. Each section pulls on that total score. You absolutely cannot bomb one part and expect another to save you. A balanced performance is key.
And now for our final myth in this section, number 9. This one feels so logical, it feels like it has to be true. But it is such a huge waste of time if you do it wrong, and that is, practicing more tests equals a higher score.
Because this is what most people do. They take a mock test, they feel frustrated with the score, and then they just take another one. It's this completely ineffective loop. This isn't practice, it's just mindless repetition. You're just running in circles and reinforcing all your bad habits. In contrast, the strategic process, the smart way, isn't about volume. It's about practicing deliberately. Then, and this is the most important part, analyzing your errors to find patterns, and then systematically fixing those weaknesses. You'll find that high scorers often practice less, but they analyze a whole lot more.
So, we've busted a lot of myths, but what's the one thing that connects them all? Let's get to the core truth, the real enemy that's hiding behind all of these dangerous lies. This is the question we really need to answer. What is the single reason that these myths are so powerful and so persistent? Why do so many smart people fall for them?
Well, here's the answer. It comes down to two totally different ways of preparing. There's the emotional path, which is all about chasing confidence and relying on motivation. But then there's the strategic path, which is about building clarity and using a proven method. Every single myth we've talked about today comes from that emotional, hope-based approach. And this is probably the single most important takeaway from our entire explainer. IELTS doesn't reward hope. It rewards understanding. Understanding the rules, understanding the structure, and understanding the cold, hard logic of the test itself. Okay, let's bring this all together. It's time to go from fail to pass, and you do that by changing your fundamental relationship with this exam.
And this final thought from the source material just sums it all up so beautifully. And once you learn its language, it stops shouting fail and starts whispering pass. You see, the test isn't an enemy to be afraid of. It's just a system that you need to understand.
And that leaves us with this final, crucial question for you to think about as you continue your studies. Are you preparing with hope, or are you preparing with understanding? Because the answer to that question will define your result.